Good. Hey, Kenny. My name is Edric Adside. I am a currently a juvenile probation officer with the state of Georgia. I'm also in the clinical mental health program at Fort Valley State currently. So, tell me what you got for me.
All right. So on the first question I have for you, so basically, in recent history, 2022, one of the big focuses or big stigmas that's been kind of popular in media is about like mental health. You see, we have like a lot of artists and like the young generation. It's really a big push on making sure mental health is taken care of. And so the first question, even though it's kind of like a real basic one, like to you, what is mental health?
To me, mental health is just a way of processing things, way of thinking. Mental health is also a more technical term, maybe. Sometimes people have just chemical imbalances in their mindset. It takes sometimes a professional, sometimes it takes medication to get things back on track, whatever. But mental health is just a way of people, a lot of times, just dealing with or not being able to deal with, life's issues, life's problems that's being thrown at them.
All right, so when you say that you have anxiety, depression, things like that. So as a professional, when you look at a person and when they come to y'all with these issues, is it more of from like a doctor standpoint where like you kind of like you prescribe it, we're kind of like with a scientific method, or is it kind of like okay, I can tell from like a mindset point?
Well, I think it starts with observation first. Like, say for instance, with my job as a probation officer, one of the things that we have to do is we bring kids in or families in, and we do an initial interview with the kid, and we kind of dig into the family's background, and when you dig into that background, you realize a lot of times that that kid has some trauma that has come about in their lives or throughout their lives or whatever, and you realize some of the things that they're doing, some things that they're saying based on what it is that parents information the parent is providing, and so you look at that kid and you take a look at what they are doing, some of the hand gestures or facial expressions, things of that nature, and you realize, what I'm saying, sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper than that. You have to look at family background a lot of times. If there's any mental health issues in the family, in the child's or in the family's background, a lot of times that will come forth in that child's behavior, which leads me to being observant as far as that child's behavior is concerned. I've been doing juvenile probation for about 20 years now, so I'm able to, from a non-professional perspective, I'm able to tell if a child is maybe ADHD, or if a child has maybe ADD, or if a child is depressed, or anything of the sort, just based on my initial interview. Now we also have in my job what I call a community mental health evaluation, where we ask them about 50, I think it's like 52 questions or whatever. Just give you an idea of some of those questions is, have you ever thought of harming yourself? Do you have trouble sleeping? Do you have you ever consumed alcohol or tobacco products, anything of that nature? That right there can lead to us having to make a referral for that kid for an additional assessment for that child or whatever. So, but I think the initial part of mental health, it comes from observation.
Gotcha.
What I'm saying, just paying attention to your client, basically.
And something off the kind of off the wall from it, I noticed you was talking about ADHD and ADD, and another point I wanted to touch in this interview about how mental health is looked at like during today's society with us, like the younger generation. Like it's like with music. So we have artists like Juice WRLD and people like that who like they openly speak about their problems. And with Juice WRLD, he spoke about he was diagnosed with ADD, ADHD when he was very young, and basically they prescribed him with pills for to calm it down, and it's kind of weird because it's kind of like a double-edged sword because it calms them down as far as okay, you're not as active as you were without the medication. But on the other end, we look at Juice WRLD, like he's deceased, he's been dead for 3 years. He died from the same pills he's been taking from when he was a child.
Right.
So how do you think that plays a part like in Mattel? Do you think we should focus more on like natural remedies, or is it just something that was kind of like a bad?
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, that's a pretty good question. I mean, because like you said, it is a double-edged sword. You have to, or you want to, prescribe a person medication to be able to deal with the mental health imbalances or the chemical imbalances that's going on in their head. But at the same time, you want to be observant enough to make certain they're not abusing those medications. So, me personally, I take medication, but I'm fortunate enough to be able to handle them with it. But some people are not. It depends. I really believe it depends on the level of mental health issues that person is having. If it's something that goes back to, goes deep into their childhood, one thing I've learned, a lot of things stem from a person's childhood. You know what I'm saying? If those things are not addressed from that point forward, and you only addressing this surface stuff right here, then the chances of that person being able to deal with those mental health issues are not very good.
Yeah.
But if you're able to go back and deal with, and help that person understand, this is where it's stemming from, and you build your way up until this current level, then I think you have a better success rate. Now, the thing about it is, like I said, it's a catch-22 with being able to monitor that medication to make certain that they're not abusing it. Yes. Now, Juice WRLD, I don't know, I'll be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about the guy, but you know what I'm saying? It seemed to me that he was getting an effect from that medication that he probably enjoyed or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And he took advantage of it, you know what I'm saying? But, from a younger perspective, as a parent, it's easier to monitor that, you know what I'm saying, versus, you know what I'm saying, having someone as his age or maybe older on that medication.
Yeah, and that puts me to the next point because basically you say like parents that have to monitor it. So what about the kids who are in like different types of environments? Because and we're talking about specific in the African American community. What the things we go through or sometimes we have gone through in the past. So sometimes like kids like Juice, where I know like I personally I know the older generation don't know, but I know me used to be one of my favorite artists.
Who was that?
Juice WRLD, that was the same dude. But he was from like Chicago, basically. And single parent home. So pretty much, you're alone by yourself. So what effect does your environment have, on that mental health and taking care of all those things?
It has a tremendous amount of effect. It has a tremendous amount of influence on number one, the mental health issues that person may be going through, for starters. But if that person is still in that environment and taking medication, then there's nothing. I mean, it's like it's canceling each other out. I'm still in an environment where I see a lot of, heartache, pain, killing, drugs, or whatever have you, and I'm trying to take medication for it, but I'm still seeing this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like it's canceling out. So the medication is really not having an effect on that person's mental health issue, that person's mental health issues, because I'm not one to say, well, you need to just move.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because mental health issues and, problems, crime occurs everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, but to an extent, it does matter what type of environment you subject yourself to. You know what I'm saying? If you're able to subject yourself or place yourself in an environment where you don't see as much of this stuff right here, then, you know what I'm saying, you have a better chance of being able to monitor that medication and so that it can have that profound effect, you know what I'm saying, or that effective, you know what I'm saying, impact on you, on your mental health issues.
All right, and another thing about the environment, I wanted to touch on, it's kind of like, because I know you have, those children, you might see on a more prominent basis that they come from these single broken homes, all this and that. But what about the other side? Because like people, I feel like people, they don't talk about enough that of course you had the people who going through like all the external issues, but what about people who have like a good external, like they come from a good home, all this, but they just have internal issues, that they can't help.
Well, from my experience with the kids that I've dealt with, um, there is a very distinct difference. And the generation or the people that you spoke about, on the external, that has a good external environment or whatever. That doesn't mean mental health issues don't exist, because they do. It's just that family or those parents may be in a better financial state to be able to put that child in the right places to help deal with. But from my experiences and what I do, I see that no matter what your financial status is, whether you are on the lower end, on the high, in the middle, or on the higher end, from my experiences, even from a mental health perspective, um, your environment is going to dictate, or is going to influence. It's going to have much more influence on that person, much more influence rather than the person. I mean, whether the person's status is low, middle income, or high income, it doesn't matter. The environment, the overall environment. I tell parents all the time, the influence of people or the kids' friends outside of your house is greater than the influence on the inside of your house. Which means that you can raise your child with all the morals and values that they need, but the influence outside of you can't walk around with your parent with your kids 24/7. So the influence outside of your house is always gonna be greater than the influence inside of your house. So it's sad to say, but the kids that have the mental health issues and the serious mental health issues, those are the ones that fall victim to much faster, much more severe than the kids that have like a lower level of mental health issues.
Yes. So another thing I want to touch on, because you are like a Black African American, and one thing I kind of noticed, when you speak about the mental health field, there's not a lot of Black men, especially
Right.
Black men in the mental health field.
Right.
I don't think there's enough Black men talking about it. And how do you feel about men like us being 100% tough all the time? Do you think it's okay to be like, okay, let me try to take a look at my mental space. Let me think about this. How do you think about, that aspect of life when it pertains to us?
Well, I'll tell you, that's another good question. The program that I'm in right now at Fort Valley is the clinical mental health program. I can pretty much tell you right now, and there are only 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 Black men in that program that I'm aware of. And I understand one of them is, I think, and this has absolutely nothing to do with it, but one is of the LGBTQ community. But there are 4 Black men in the program. Everybody else is Black females or white females.
Yeah.
There's no white males in the program that I'm in currently. It's a sad situation because it's almost like we're at a high demand. You know what I'm saying? We're at a high demand, and the stigma that we often carry around with us is, like you said, we have to be the bearer, we have to be the protector, we have to be the provider. We have to be that person that is looked up to, and it's often said, it's often unnoticed that we ourselves have mental health issues that we have to deal with. Having to bear all of that on our shoulders and everything, we ourselves have to have mental health issues, but there's very, very few people that are willing to admit. There's very few Black men that are willing to actually admit it, and that's what a problem comes, because as men growing up in my generation and your dad's generation, we were always taught, and I'm pretty sure your dad probably told you too. Walk it off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Don't you cry? You crying is a weakness. Pain is pain is basically a weakness leaving your body.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we carry that into adulthood, and see, we still bear that fruit because as providers, we have to be able to show that strength. We have people that's dependent on us. We have to be able to present ourselves in that strong front. But at the same time, if you pay attention to social media like TikTok or Instagram, whatever, you hear a lot of people now that's bringing to the table or bringing to the forefront that Black men do have mental health issues, and we need to be able to be we need to be able to express ourselves and so that in a manner in which we're not looked at as weak or whatever. You're saying, but it's hard for us to be able to do that still, because that's how society sees us. Either we're a threat or we're weak. It's very seldom a gray area. And when that gray area does present itself, it has to be presented from us as strength. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, it's a difficult situation. It's a sad situation, but it's a situation nonetheless that needs to be addressed a lot more than it is.
And the last topic I want to kind of touch on, we're kind of from like the difference between like your generation dealing with mental health and ours is like the social media. Because basically, like for me, now I grew up during like when everything was blowing up, so I was like right in the mix. So I could see a little bit of the end of playing outside, being with your friends all the time, and not coming in. Oh, it's all social media. So and it's just now that like it's like a whole different beast, because like when you look at social media, everybody is like painting a perfect picture. And nobody knows what's behind the canvas, but everybody see that perfect picture.
Exactly.
So just speak on like how mental health, like dealing with social media and mental health, how is it kind of like different from when you were younger? Because I know when you were young, y'all didn't have the only form of social media I really had was probably when y'all got older, probably like email once you got older.
Yep.
So you really had to deal with the fake, the picture perfect.
Well, one of the I think the first social media platform that I'm familiar with was MySpace. And that I take that back. It was called Black Planet. There was one called Black Planet and one called MySpace. Those are the first two that I'm familiar. I became familiar with. But as far as the difference between the generations, I think you touched on a little bit. The way we didn't see mental health issues. We didn't view it either the term wasn't introduced to us or we just didn't see it because, like you say, we spent a great deal of our time outside.
Yeah.
Playing ball, growing up in Gordon, I had my homeboys. Your dad had his friends, his homeboys down here. We, kind of meet and have like sport events or whatever. We gonna play y'all play us or whatever, and things of the nature. That's how we dealt with the issues that we had with one another. You know what I'm saying? Either it was a game or sometimes we actually get in a fight.
Yeah.
But it very seldom. But sometimes we actually get in a fight. But now it is, your generation takes to social media to put everything out there. You know what I'm saying? Social media has been the reason people have died, the reason people have, and like you said, they put on that false facade, you know what I'm saying, to where I'm going to show you what I want to look like, but this is what I really look like.
Yeah.
And see us growing up outside, it was a punishment for us to be in the house.
Oh yeah.
It was literally considered a punishment for us to have to stay in the house versus y'all. I just went and saw you talk to your brother. Your brother ever playing the game.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's fine with being in the house. I mean, and don't get me wrong. You also have to take into consideration the criminal aspect of things in society as well. Sometimes it may not be safe depending on the environment that you're in. It might not be safe for the kid to play outside. But at the same time, you still want your child to have that interaction, that option. You know what I'm saying? The opportunity. And I think what in that regard, I think being outside, hanging out with one another, all day long, literally all day long. So I think that really helped us with a lot of the things that were going on with us. Like I said, it just really doesn't seem like mental health was an issue with me. And I'm not that old, don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? 43 or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, it just doesn't seem like mental health issues or, either they weren't introduced to us, we didn't know what they were, or they just wasn't there. They wasn't present at that particular time. That's what it seems like me. But now it's like the things that you guys are going through. You have cyberbullying, you have physical bullying. You know what I'm saying? All of which are against the law now. But back then it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now it's like you have people, that are not really paying attention to stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And it really it really jumps on the person's mental, you know what I'm saying, as to, okay, well, I don't have anybody to help me with this situation. So I might as well just go ahead and handle it myself. Before you know it, you got kids committing suicides over something like bullying or whatever. But the mental health, is a is a situation now that is becoming a serious situation, especially since the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that pandemic it kind of added a lot of fuel to the fire.
And another question I had, really about going through those things, suicide, because like I'm gonna touch on this a little bit, because I know I had my dad probably told the story, like we had one of our coaches from high school, he had committed suicide.
Oh no, I
You
didn't know
never
that.
told it? Yeah, so we had one of our coaches, he was from Wyoming, a Chinese man from Wyoming, and I don't know what, like it was something that was going on, and he had killed himself. It was my freshman year in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, I came home that weekend, came to school, and it was kind of like the energy was just like real bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think I've been back to the high school since. It's just been like, it's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
And we was having a conversation about it, me, him, and my brother. And one of the things came up, he was asking, like, is suicide that action? Is that like a selfish act, do you think? Or is it something that's kind of like, sometimes a person just can't help it, get to a point or
Well, I don't think I would ever call suicide a selfish act. I think if a person has gotten to that point, they see no other end.
Mm-hmm.
They see no other result. They see no other conclusion. Whether they have reached out or exhausted all of their resources to get help with whatever it is they're going through or not, I think if a person has decided to take their life, I think it's an act of, I don't have any other way out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or just be like, I've tried this, or I tried that, I've talked to this person, I tried to talk to this person, and I'm not getting the results that I thought I would get or that I need to get. You know what I'm saying? And that's the only conclusion they could come to, whatever. But I would never see suicide as a personal situation or a personal act, you know what I'm saying, or selfish act or anything like that. So, it's just that person just is at their wits' end, and they don't know anything else to do.
All right, and my last, cause I like to end when I do interviews. I don't want to end everything on a positive note, cause I know this is like a heavy, topic.
Mm-hmm.
So, to anybody who may be watching, like, and they they want to work on taking care of their mental health, trying to get help. Like, what do you advise them? What should be their steps of action of, like, maybe not even going to talk to a therapist or anybody, maybe just saying like, okay, I'm in like a little funk right now. How can I get myself back in that?
Well, it's funny you ask that because I just got out of a little funk myself. I'm still actually, still working my way out of it. I'm a praying guy. I come from a praying family. I'm a strong believer in God and His Son, Jesus Christ. So, the first thing I would say is pray. Mm-hmm. A lot of people see that, and especially in today's society, they see prayer as just another cop out or whatever. But, I've seen it work. It has worked towards me. I've seen God work in my life. So that would be the first thing that I would recommend to a person to do if they're going through some stuff. Secondly, I would advise that person to find something within themselves that they like and enhance that. If it's something like you like spending time outside, if you like shopping, or if you like playing video games, positive video games, mind you. I would hone in on things that makes that person feel happy. You know what I'm saying? Something that's the opposite of the way they're feeling. I like me personally. I like to spend time. I'm an outside person. I just recently started grilling. So grilling is a pretty good habit on me for me right now. That's how I clear my mind. If I'm not able to do that, then what I do is I go outside and I observe nature. I love clouds. I love sunsets. I love trees. Just being outside. You understand? That reminds me of God Himself. You know what I'm saying? Everything. Just being out there is just shows me that there's no power greater than God. Mm-hmm. He created the earth, the heavens and the earth and everything, and everything that is that we're experiencing is by His hand in creation or whatever. So, but those are the couple of things. Those are the top three things that I think I would probably recommend to a person. Especially number one, I put God first, and having them just look to whatever God they pray to. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Just find some peace, find some tranquility within themselves, in their mindset. You know what I'm saying? Something that's going to help them clear their mind. You understand? Because that's where it starts. Mental health starts right here.
Yeah.
It starts in the mind. If you can clear your mind, if you can get your mind under control, I think, you have a better chance of getting past what it is that you're going through, but most definitely find something that makes them happy, puts something that puts a smile on their face, and enhance that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So,
all right, yeah, I'm gonna say, thank you for doing the interview for me. You did give me like good pointers, very informational for an interview. Now I appreciate it.
I'm glad I can help, man. Anytime, bro. I appreciate it.